Hi, welcome to Kermie the Angels. My name is Dr. Kermie Wohlenhaus, and the angels are everywhere. Tonight we have a wonderful guest, and her name is Ambika Wauters. Thank you for coming, Ambika.
Thank you.
And she's going to talk about angels in the Kabbalah. She has a new book out that's called, it's called
Experiential Kabbalah.
Yes, Experiential Kabbalah. Now, Ambika comes with a whole line of credentials. And why don't you turn this way a little bit, Ambika, so we can talk? That'd be great. She comes with, you've written over 22 books.
Yeah.
And there's more that are available, like in ebooks, all kinds of places, all over. And she's an expert in the chakras, homeopathy. She's a homeopath. And she has written the Bible, the Homeopath Bible. She also has written lots about angels, healing with the angels, angel cards. We've had you on the show once before when you just finished your book, Healing with the Angels. And so she's back talking about angels in the Kabbalah. So welcome. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you.
So tell us about the Kabbalah and where it first started and angels.
Right. Well, the Kabbalah is an ancient Hebrew text of 2 or 3 books that came to the attention of the world in the 13th century in Spain. And it encrypts the mystical aspects of Judaism and goes back to the Garden of Eden. It's believed that there were 2 trees in the Garden of Eden. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which is what we know was the downfall, or the fall, what we call the fall, and the tree of life, which was the descent of power from the Creator. So the tree of life offers us a graphic of the mystical aspects of creation.
And we have a picture of one that you drew. She's also an artist. There's usually a color about it, but I like how you put this together. So here's a little bit of the Tree of Life, right?
Yes, it starts at the crown with Kethar, which is ruled by the Archangel Metatron, the angel of the presence of God. And on either side, we have these 2 columns. The left-hand side is known as the column of severity, and the right-hand side is known as the column of mercy. So on the left-hand side, we have Bina, which represents understanding. And the angel is Zapkiel, who brings us, who is the beholder of God. And the realm of angels are called the Eralim, who we know as the thrones.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And then what's on the other side?
Do you want to bring the graphic up again? We have on the column of mercy, Chokmah, which represents wisdom, ruled by the Archangel Raziel, and the Ophanim, who are the realm of angels. Mm-hmm. And then it moves down. In the central column we have Tefereth, which represents beauty. And I believe it represents the heart, ruled by the Archangel Raphael, who brings us the healing love of God. On the left-hand column we have Gebera, which is strength, and this kind of strength that comes from the severe trials of life. That common expression, if it doesn't kill you, it'll make you strong. That's what that represents.
Oh, okay. Now, do these represent the chakras in our bodies as well?
They represent parts of the body, the arms, the legs, the eyes, the ears, the senses, certainly the heart. And the patriarchs and the matriarchs of the Old Testament are also represented in there. Minerals, perfumes, certain scents, certain foods are represented in each. Each column is known as a Sephiroth. So each Sephiroth has its own totality, its own myths, its own angels, its own lessons. And it starts at the top, the crown, like the crown chakra, and it filters down to the very bottom, which is the kingdom, which we call the kingdom, which is the world.
Okay, great. And but it does kind of correspond. Do we have kind of a tree of life within ourselves or
Yes, I think,
anything that
yes.
good? Okay, great.
We are trees. We are
And then
great
the
trees.
foundation is down here.
Yesod, which is the foundation, which is ruled by the Archangel Gabriel,
Uh-huh.
who is known as the hero of God, and the cherubim, who are the strength, the strong angels. So that's, that has a whole aspect of vitality and sexuality to it. Where Malkuth, which is known as the kingdom, is ruled by Sandalphon and is really part of the roots of life, or what we would call the world, and is seen over by the Shekinah, which is the feminine face of God, the mother love of God.
So tell me, do we start, it's a mystic tradition
Yes.
and it's universal. Is that true?
Yes, it comes out of mystical Judaism. It's very ancient, very old. And it has a universal application that anybody can study and come to understand. When we have experiences in our lives that are wonderful and beautiful and exciting, we can relate them to the column of mercy. And when we have the trials of life, the hardships, we can relate them to the column of severity, and we are always looking for the balance. The tree is a wonderful metaphor and a beautiful graphic because it represents life itself.
Now, with a tree, just like in life, do we start at the bottom and work our way up, or can you go in any part of it?
I think so. It's a lot of people like to start at the crown and work down because that's manifestation.
Okay.
It's how the mystical creation takes form in life. And there are many people that do prayers and ritual around bringing God's presence into creation. But I like starting at the bottom myself.
Oh, do you? Okay,
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
And I see, then you can go up.
Then you can go up. I think it's about ascension.
Now, when you were writing your book, I know that you're an artist, and that you were putting together a tree of life on a wall in your backyard, which is a huge sanctuary. It's lovely. It really is.
Yeah.
And so tell us about that experience too, because this book is about your experience with the Kabbalah as a Jewish woman, and to be as a mystic, because you've certainly worked with the angels, you've worked with the chakra system, you've worked with Jewish mysticism before. So tell us why this was so different.
Well, one day when I was in the beginning of the book, I needed to see it. I needed to understand this tree. And I took some clay and I started making parts of a tree trunk. And then I started making leaves. And then I said, I'm going to make the tree. I had a very small kiln. Must have done 100 firings. I painted it. I made labels. I put the 72 names of God were represented by little mirrors. That's a part of Kabbalah. I put roses to represent the angels. It's this beautiful 14-foot high tree on my garage wall, which faces into my garden. And it took me about 6-7 months. And every time I came to a different Sephiroth or a different entity of knowledge, I would have these experiences that both the severe and the merciful. And it came to represent my work with this phenomenal ancient knowledge.
So as you went up the tree, you had those experiences. And what, if there was any area that was kind of the most important to you, or maybe...
Oh, they were all important.
Was, how was the heart part? I bet that was amazing.
Tefereth, yes. Tefereth is a point of when you reach the heart, everything above that is good. There is no, it may be severe, but it isn't hardship. So from the heart, everything ascends and becomes lighter and more mystical. It was a beautiful point to reach.
Yeah, I would
But they
imagine.
all are. They all carry an element of truth and creation, and they are all valid. There isn't one that's lesser. They build on one another. And as you reach the plateau of one, then your experiences, even your thoughts and your dreams move into that next realm. And they go up and they go up.
Now, we've heard a lot of, I don't know, kind of pulp culture has been
Yes.
into the Kabbalah.
Yes.
Madonna
Yes.
has been studying the Kabbalah. And do you know anything about that, or what? I don't know. It's just kind of fun that she's coming out with this and really studying it. And she got in some trouble, kind of sharing the prayers.
Well, she certainly took it to heart, and I do believe it changed her life. I was able to meet the rabbi who counseled her in Israel, in the holy town of Sfat, where the Kabbalah started in the 13th century. And she was very serious in her intent, and bought a home near there and really studied. So it may be pop media, but I think for her it was a really sincere experience.
But it's always nice when people go up this tree of life and that they have some kind of PR around it, so that it
Yes.
really kind of lets other people know that
Yes.
this isn't just an ancient wisdom or ancient mystical experience, but that it is universal.
It is
and you don't
universal.
have to be Jewish or come from Israel or even go to
Right.
Israel to experience this, that
That's
there's no
right.
time and space. And
Yes, there's validity in this, in the tree of life, for all of us to understand. And if we want to go deeper into Kabbalah, there are many things we can study. But it's a very beautiful way of understanding how creation happens and about our connection with the Creator, with God. And each step, each branch takes us closer and closer to that, which is beautiful.
And you had some really good teachers as well, so that
yes,
was great.
yes,
Was
the
there any
rabbis.
things that were particularly meaningful that they said that was?
Yes, for the
open the doors?
rabbis, it's very much about tradition and history. But I learned from Rabbi Kohan at Temple Emmanuel. He was a good teacher, still is a good teacher. He's been teaching Kabbalah now for 9 years. One class has been going on for 9 years. So it was nice to be a part of that. The books were wonderful, and everybody has their own take on it. I like the universal approach. I feel that there's a teaching in this that we can all share in, and it doesn't need to be secular. It is universal, and it's a beautiful, beautiful path to understanding creation and to understanding our experiences, why difficult things happen to us, why certain things have come into our life, and how we can open those fields for healing to happen in us. Yeah.
So, Ambika, you've really had a lot of experience with angels. Is there anything really unique that happened to you while you studied the Tree of Life? More than maybe your healing angels or the angels of the babies, one of your books that was award-winning, the angel babies. And I don't know, how were they more powerful, do you think? Or you
They
could
were more
feel
present.
the
They were,
ancient,
yes.
kind of steeped in
Yes,
power
I was looking for prayers for the book that would fit each one of these Sephiroth. And I took the Reformed Synagogue's book of prayer, and I would just simply open it. You know, I would say a prayer, please show me a prayer. And I would open the book, and there would be an exquisite prayer that was perfect for what I was writing about. And at first I thought, oh, this is coincidence, but it kept happening. I kept finding beautiful, ancient and new modern prayers that would really describe the essence of these branches of the tree. And I thought, oh, that's, you know, the angels are working with me. This is a book that wants to be written. And actually, in the very beginning, a channeler told me that this would be something that I would write about. And I was quite surprised because I felt very far from it. And she suggested I start studying and reading. And then somebody sent me 22 volumes of the Zohar, hardbound volumes from New York. Sent me 22 volumes to study of the Zohar. And things kept coming to me like that.
and the Zohar is connected to Kabbalah.
Yes, the Zohar is a mystical book that's part of Kabbalah.
Okay.
And has wonderful stories, and a lot of wisdom. So things like that happened. Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine whenever you're working with the angels,
Yeah.
there all kinds of interesting things happen, but especially when you're working with such powerful angels.
Yes.
I can imagine that it's just like so profound. Did you dream about them and have kind of visions? I know that you're clairvoyant and that you have certainly communication with the angelic.
I would say that my connection became clearer and my guidance became clear. There were few questions. I knew when I got up in the morning what I had to do, whether I was going to turn right or left. And in the beginning, I thought maybe this has to do with the book and it'll go away. But since writing the book, the guidance is infinitely clearer. It opened a whole channel. It strengthened, let's put it this way, it strengthened a channel for me. And it's made many of my experiences more, given me more understanding and more wisdom about my own life and my own path. It's helped ease fear. It's helped eliminate doubt. And it's made prayer the central focus of my life.
Nice. I know also that you've had other books that have written themselves, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you just show up and suit up and, sit
Yeah.
down at the computer and...
It's got to be written. That's right.
So, and I think this one was a really powerful one
Yes.
for you
Yeah.
to write, and I know when I'm writing books, which I am now, they just sweep our calendars.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
It's all you want to do. You just want to sit and write. There's, you take time for meditation and eating and prayer and exercise, and unless something really calls you, you just want to be there writing, because you're sitting in this matrix of love and wisdom, and it's just pouring through you. Yes, it's an honor to be the channel, to be the messenger for this. You know that.
Yes.
Yes, I love writing, and I loved writing this book.
It's interesting being an inspirational writer like we are, because we rely so heavily on spirit and I always call it intergalactic communication or interdimensional communication, where we really say, okay, what do you want to write about? And then we say, and they'll tell us little stories. And I would imagine that you had some interesting experiences at temple and different things that while you were studying this, because you're not the normal kind of person on the street, Jewish person going into a temple. And so how were they taking this? Did they know that you were writing a book? Or?
Well, they did, but there are many people who write books, and people were very warm and very kind and very welcoming. There was a woman in her late 80s who they call her Mother Temple, and she just welcomed me and took me in. And they made me feel that I belonged, and I'm very, very grateful for the experience. I spent about a year in the synagogue going to classes and going to Torah study and going to services, and it was very rich and very meaningful and taught me a lot about my own religion. And then it was time to sit down and write, really write. So I'm very grateful for the experience and very grateful for the people I met. And I hope they can accept that this is something that comes out of my experience as part of this very old tradition.
Now, before, this is, I would imagine, a series of experiences that you've had, because your last book was on martyrdom. And you went to Israel, kind of the seat of martyrdom, and in Jerusalem, and spent much time there just exploring. And that was pretty gut-wrenching, wasn't it? And
it was intense, very intense.
And now this it's kind of like almost you had to clean ancient history and tradition of that in order to bring in so much light. Is that true?
Yes, I was in Jerusalem for 6 weeks writing, and I took 3 days off and went to Sfat, where Kabbalah started, and met this wonderful young man who's from Tucson, who emigrated to Israel, who showed me around and took me to places that were significant for Kabbalah. And he said a prayer over me that was just incredible, very ancient Kabbalistic prayer. And on my way back to Jerusalem, I lost everything. I lost my notes, I lost my books, I lost everything, and then broke out in a very intense fever, little water blisters all over my body. And all I could do was laugh because I knew it was from this Kabbalistic prayer. So I called him and I told him, and I was just laughing. I had 102 fever, and it was what we call a detox in homeopathy. The girl I was staying with said, "Can I get a doctor?" And I said, "No doctors, but if you can find somebody who does Reiki or healing, please bring them over." And she found a young rabbi, and he does Reiki, and he did Reiki, and nothing happened. And I said, "Do you know this prayer from Kabbalah?" He said, "Yes, I do. I keep it next to my heart." And he pulled out the paper and he said this prayer over me, and my fever broke in an instant. And the next day I was back on my feet. So I had a real understanding that this is very, very powerful stuff, and it would serve me to know a little more. But it was when I came back that I was told that I would be writing about it. And then I immersed myself in it as best I could, and didn't take it all in. But the tree of life really resonated with me and has stayed with me.
Now, you were talking about the tree of life, that there were two trees in the Garden of Eden.
This is as the myth goes.
As the creation myth goes. Tell us a little bit. There's not a lot said about it, is there?
Well, I can't say that I know a lot. What I know is that the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is what drew Eve to pick the apple and give it to Adam. But the other tree was the tree of life, which gave the imprint of how creation manifested, from the Creator down through these branches to the roots of life. And I think why we're interested in this now is that we're coming back to this place of finding that within us, finding the tree within us, and creating our own lives as we truly would love them to be. That this is within our power.
So this is sort of a tree of manifestation as well, isn't it?
Yes, it's all about power of creation.
And okay, so we can create, but it's also about ascending and descending.
Yes, you can go
well.
up to the Creator in prayer and devotion and reverence, and you can bring this healing down, bring this power down to manifest in our lives through wisdom and understanding, through the beauty of life, through kindness, through all these, what these sephiroth, these branches of the tree represent. It's a very worthy path to
Now there's another picture of the tree of life that I've seen that's more geometrical.
Yes.
And what is that? Is that just the same? But I like your rendition of the tree of life because it's like actually a tree, whereas the other one almost looks like a crystal energy.
Yes.
And so I'm always curious about, and it has different colors, and you know, it's certainly the same angels as this tree. But tell me a little bit about that.
Well, here, let's look at that. That's that's a good manifestation.
Put this on. So tell me a little bit about.
These are just symbols.
Okay.
They may be symbols of the planets because the planets are represented in the tree of life. They may be a structural symbol. That,
and I like this book because it has a person.
Yes, in there.
Outlined in it. So
but you see this graphic of the tree of life showing itself in many ways. It's I have it in a rug that came from Persia.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's ancient, and it was taken up by many people, many different faiths.
Well, thank you so much for being here and showing us about the tree of life and the angels of the Kabbalah, and just an overview. And your book, Experiential Kabbalah, by Ambika Wauters, and here's her information. Thank you very much, Kermie the Angels.